Good morning, everybody. Hi, welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me, where I talk about parenting and, parenting in America as an African mom, as an African mother, parenting in the American mom style. Welcome, Olivia.
Thank you so much for having me, Victoria. It's such a pleasure.
So tell me, how have you've got boys, you've got three boys. So especially with boys, how do you manage to instill that sense of discipline without using the metaphorical slipper or or the switch or whatever other or the hand? How do you get them to comply? How do you bring order into your house?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It is a struggle at times because boys are different than girls. So I have four biological children, and then I have a bonus daughter. So a total of five. My girls, just like a look or a tone or a reminder, they get in line. They do what is expected of them. My boys, however, push the envelope. And so it's been a challenge with them where, my mom, my Jamaican mom and Jamaican culture was like serious spanking, whether it was the belt or the switch, it was like serious spanking. So in American culture, that is frowned upon, that whole corporate punishment, that physical punishment, it's
Hmm.
frowned upon. So
Yes.
with my boys, I've taken things away, like no screen time. I have had them do like push-ups, right?
Ah,
I've had them when they're not getting along, especially my younger two, my 16-year-old and my 11-year-old. They're the ones that don't get along the most. And so with them, when they get in conflict, sometimes I have to be the mediator and
yes.
stand between them and be like, what did you do? And what did you do? And what did you think you did wrong? And what can you apologize for? And do that whole mediation thing. And other times I just make them hug. They have to sit next to each other and they have to hug it out. I've had them sit, by the wall, face the wall and hug each other. And for my 16-year-old, that's torture. He would rather like just give me a spank and get it over with. Like take an arm and get it over with. He hates that whole I have to hug my brother. I have to sit next to my brother. He is not about that. But with knowing what is coming,
Mhm.
depending on the situation, they'll like more quickly, especially my 16-year-old, to be like, oh, I'm sorry, and
Yes.
move on because he doesn't want to deal with that. He doesn't want to deal with that. But yeah, I've tried different things over the years, like if they have, like a play date or something coming up that they're really
Mhm.
looking forward to, and their behavior was severe enough, with warnings and all that kind of stuff and reminders, if I threaten to take things that they love away,
Mhm.
that's also been super effective. But yeah, boys are very interesting that,
Boys are so
very
different.
interesting. Mhm.
Yeah, it's so
Yes.
interesting. I think I still have to find the items I can take away from Paulo because, like he has an iPad and he has an hour of it a day, and still I've taken it away and the behavior has continued. Um,
Yeah.
so it's hard to find like what his trigger buttons are. And then sometimes if I do take away, like you can't go outside because he's a very active kid, so he goes plays in the neighborhood. And if I say, you can't go outside, it's almost
Mhm.
like I'm punishing myself because now I have to entertain him. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's a
Yeah.
double-edged sword. Like now he's stuck in the house and I have to be like, okay, read a book. I don't want to read a book. And okay, so let's read a book together or let's play this together.
Yeah.
And you've got older kids and how do you play with your kids? Because in our culture, I mean, in Zambian culture, in African culture, parents do not play with their children. Children,
Yeah.
like their boredom is not my problem. You know what I mean? Whereas with my son, when he's bored, it is my problem. It is if he's bored. And it could be because he's an only child,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it is my problem. It is, I have to entertain him. How do you deal with entertaining or playing with your children? What is playing with your children?
So I love the whole, that's not my problem. I want to use that. I want to put that on something and use that. So growing up in Jamaica with a Jamaican mom, no, they did not have time to play with the children. I can't even remember like one time where my mom like played with me. I'm the only child to my mom, but we're from a really big family. There was a total of 16 kids. Blended family situation. So a lot of children. I'm the oldest of
Mm.
the nieces, and I'm the oldest grandchild. So, but everybody has loads of kids. And so
Yeah.
I always had a cousin,
Oh,
or two come over. Or when I would visit my grandmother, there were lots of my cousins to play with.
yeah.
So my mom wasn't playing with me. My grandparents were not playing with me. I played by myself a lot, which is why I had multiple children, because I didn't really like that. And then I played with my cousin. But some of the things about different cultures, some of them work for me and some don't. And so, for example, my mom just had me, but she was, busy with school and jobs and all of that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So in our culture, that wasn't parents playing with their children was not a thing. But I find joy in doing that as an American Jamerican. I was born in the United States, but I've lived in Jamaica and I've lived in United States
Yeah.
different my childhood. And so all of my kids are American born, but I enjoy playing with my kids. Do I play with them all the time? Absolutely not. But when they're younger, like the hide and seek and, different things like that, or Simon Says, I particularly enjoy that. I feel like that's bonding time, that's making memories and, different things, board games. We have game nights and things like that now with our whole family
Yeah.
unit. But when growing up, we definitely had times of, okay, we're going to play bingo, the one-on-one with
Yes.
each and so for me, even though my mom didn't do it, I particularly like making and time to invest in playing with my child. Now, I don't do that every day because I still have I have a job, I have
Mhm.
responsibilities, but summertime and on the weekends, we do make time for family, which includes play.
Yeah, it's interesting. I grew up also. I'm the oldest. I've got two brothers and two sisters. I've got four siblings, all younger than me. And I was the oldest, so I was in charge of making the games for my siblings and stuff like that. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so my mom instilled, she made our family, our home, a safe space. So
Yeah.
after school, she would sit with us and chat with us. How was your day? And she connected with us. So she spent time with us.
Yeah.
But I don't remember her ever playing with us. I don't remember, like, we would play cards or she would sit in the corner while we played and she was present, but there was no
Yeah.
playing, like, let's play hide and seek. No, there was none of that. So with my son, I have the same things. I want to bond with him. I want to know what's happening in his life. So I will be there and I will chat with you and I will hear all your stories and we will chat. And I will schedule playtime. Like, we're going to the
Yeah.
park, the same thing with like all these play dates where I have to, his play date is also my play date. He's chatting, he's playing with
Yeah.
his friends, I'm chatting with the moms, so
Yeah.
I spend time with him like that and I schedule it in and we will play the board game, we will play, but I refuse, and I've told him this, my son knows, I refuse to be I refuse to be his solution to boredom. And I tell him, we have a whole saying in our house when he comes to me and says, I'm bored. I'm like, what does boredom mean? Like, boredom has a meaning in our house. If you're bored,
Yes.
it means it's time to invent something. It's
Yeah.
time to
It's an
go to this.
opportunity.
It's an
Yeah.
opportunity. It is not a
Mhm.
time to come to mommy and tell me I'm bored and I sort that problem out. Like, no,
Yeah.
like boredom means that, okay, this is it. Like, boredom is like, it's a blank sheet of paper. It is, let's go and explore. But I refuse to take responsibility for his
So
boredom,
you know what? I like that because you're giving him an opportunity to be creative, to problem
Exactly.
solve,
Hmm.
right? And I think each child too, for me, is different. Like I don't ever recall like my oldest Daniela saying that I'm bored at home. Thankfully, all my kids were readers and super active in sports and different things. I don't recall my older son, Chris, ever saying that he was bored, or even my middle son, Gabe, saying that he was bored. But the young one, my last one, Izzy, the 11-year-old, that's like a word that he uses often. I'm
Yeah.
bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. And my response is always, well, let's problem solve. What can you do if you're bored?
Mm-hmm.
Read a book, make a puzzle, and they're really like creative, get some clay and make something,
Yeah.
paint, because we have all the things, right? We have all the games,
Exactly.
have all the tools. My background is education, so I'm always including something educational in
Yeah.
there. Go do a science project, and I will help to a certain extent with that. But and even my bonus daughter, Kayla, I don't recall them ever saying that they were bored. It's the baby, it's the last kid that needs this constant, thing to do.
Yes.
And a lot of times when he's saying that I'm bored, he's wanting screen time. And
Yeah.
I'm American parent in me, and the educational background part of my brain is like, okay, I need to put a cap on that. I need to put a limit on that. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be in front of the television for hours. You're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be on a device of any kind for
Mm-hmm.
hours. I'll give you an hour, of television, and then maybe an hour of screen time. But again, it can't just be wasted. I'm just going to play some game that means nothing, that teaches
Yeah.
me nothing, like that. But he's my one that says I'm bored a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me. And this has been so interesting. This is so interesting. It's an interesting journey. Good luck with your 11-year-old. Mine is still 7, so we've got a long way to go of boredom.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'll be interested to see how your summer's going. I mean, any summer plans, any fun things you guys are doing for the summer? Is he in summer
So
camp? What are you doing? Are you having fun?
So there are things, there are things planned, but I really enjoy this topic of like your perspective on how you were parent, as an African, with an African mom in Zambia, and how you're now parenting your son who's an American born, but you still mix in some of that, African mom juice heritage, right?
Yeah,
And then me, having a Jamaican mom and being raised by a Jamaican family, but still having a mix of the American, thus the Jamerican, the American flavor, because I lived for a part of my childhood in New York. And now that I'm a mom, yes, I've included some of my Jamaican heritage or Jamaican heritage, but also have had to adjust in some ways to
yeah,
the American culture. So it's interesting,
it is. It is so
raising
interesting.
kids,
Yes, I
with the
still, you know what?
multicultural.
Interesting enough, I still use the tone. Like my son knows
Yes.
the no nonsense tone. He knows what that means. So the tone is definitely in there. The when I raise my hand, I've never actually hit him, but I've threatened often. So when I raise the hand like this, he knows he will like because he argues. My son is an he should be a lawyer because
He's a debater.
he's a debater.
He would make a good
Every
debater,
he
news
will
anchor, or attorney.
Yes, he will debate. He will argue everything. Hey, can you do this laundry? Can you do this now? What about later? What about, but why? Mommy, what about there's no like yes, there's no yes. And I try the whole gentle parenting and like let him time to explain himself. But come on, after the end of the day, let's go. You know what I mean? There has to be a limit to this. There has to be an end
Yes.
point. And with him, there is no end point. So I
Yeah.
have to instill that wall. There has to be a wall like, okay, this far you can go.
Yes. Yeah. Here's
And
my
not further.
parameters. Here's my
Yes,
boundaries.
yes.
Yes. 100%.
I will let you have an opinion and you can air your opinion, but after a certain limit, my word is law. Let's get this done.
Yeah.
So it's interesting and it's fun and it's very interesting. And I'm
Yes.
learning a lot
Mhm.
about myself,
Yes. Uh-huh.
and I feel like I'm growing as a person, just parenting
Yes.
a child, you know?
Yeah, and whether it's a boy or a girl, I feel like parenting does stretch us,
Yeah.
and does bring out certain things in us that we didn't necessarily thought was there.
Oh my goodness,
But we
yes.
also grow in leaps and bounds, and I think
Yes.
it's all good. I think it's all was a part of God's plan to begin with. So
Yes.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on my channel. It's been so awesome
absolutely.
talking with you, and I hope to do it again soon.
Yeah, let's keep this going.
Yes, let's. Take
Thanks for
care.
having me. Bye.
Bye.